The Delaware County Budget Hearing Special Session for November 7, 2018. We are now back in session from recess. And Joyce, I'll let you introduce yourselves and begin.
Hey, good afternoon. Joyce Bowens, Director of Delaware County Child Support. I gave you a handout, just basically the top page of it is just the slideshow, just to kind of summarize what's in the business plan. Not a whole lot of changes in my budget this year. Just a couple of things was we're looking at hiring a case manager supervisor. 3 years ago we used to have a supervisor, and then I decided to hire a compliance officer. What I wanted to do with that compliance officer is to do some monitoring of the quality of work that we produce. So we did find some areas that we needed to work on, and I want to continue that monitoring. Our compliance officer did end up leaving a couple months ago, and then after kind of like reconsidering everything that we needed, I felt that instead of hiring a compliance officer, we needed to go back to a supervisor.
So you're not adding a person, you're just replacing.
Correct.
That already helps your story, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that,
at least with this commissioner.
that answers my main question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to add a little bit of levity there, but go ahead.
That's okay. Just that they, they can work with the areas that we do know that we need to work on some improvement with the staff, to do some coaching and mentoring, and just to kind of even step up the monitoring a little bit more, but kind of address some of the things that we do need to address. Also, we cut out a process server. We used to have a part-time process server. Phil retired at the beginning of this year, and we did some interviews. After doing some interviews, we decided that we would look at the sheriff's contract that we currently have and look at using that contract to do our process serving. The sheriff was very on board with that, so we're going to give that a try.
How does that compare cost-wise?
It's not going to be much more than what we already have. It'll be a half-time deputy through their contract. It kind of balances itself out. We haven't started it yet, so I'm not sure. We all think that it's going to work. We don't know why it wouldn't work, but we're just going to give it a try and see what happens. I don't have to purchase a vehicle that way if I do it through the sheriff's office.
She just win all kinds of points.
Yeah, they need a unmarked vehicle, right?
Yeah, that's another thing too.
Oh,
yes.
Train them how to serve the process stuff, right?
But they already know how to do the process serving because they do it through the sheriff's department for other cases anyway. But one of the issues that we did have with, if we did the process server and we purchase a car, we have to put county plates on it. And the minute you put county plates on it, no one's going to answer the door when you're trying to serve them. So that is an issue. Even if it doesn't have the logo on the side, they recognize the plates and won't answer the door. So that's pretty much for the salaries. Under the contracts, the sheriff's department's listed on there because of the process server piece that we are wanting to add. We are actually working with the prosecutor's office, domestic court and juvenile court to do, we're looking at doing misdemeanors versus felonies for non-support. The purpose in doing this was we were looking at ways to do other enforcement without adding another roadblock to them. Once you tag them with that felony, it just adds another roadblock to them finding a job. So we were working with them to look at doing misdemeanors instead of that, the felony. So we'll have a contract with the juvenile court if we do that, which is included in my budget. Last thing, just to kind of mention, with the purchase of the vehicle, even though we were doing the process server through the sheriff's department, the agency, we still need a vehicle for us. We have no vehicle to do training and the association meetings that I attend. Currently, right now, we are using the commissioner's vehicle. That has worked out a couple times. It's we've not had a vehicle to use, so we've had to use personal.
You said you need it for association meetings. Wouldn't it be cheaper just to rent a vehicle?
Well, if they do the fleet, I would not have an issue doing the vehicle that way. I just need some type of vehicle, whether it's purchasing or through the fleet that the county is looking at currently doing.
I think we'd be prejudiced towards some sort of fleet which provides sharing or something. There's a huge cost vehicles that aren't used or utilized well. So, so we may have to have more conversations on that once we get the fleet issue kind of.
We do jail visits every Tuesday.
I'm sorry?
We do the jail visits every Tuesday, so we would need a vehicle for that. The association meetings, there's monthly meetings and then quarterly meetings. And then we also do outreaches at the prisons. So it's not, we do need a vehicle, but again, it would either be purchased or through.
But you're currently using the county vehicles?
Huh?
You're currently using a county vehicle for that?
For most of it, the association meetings, I've just been using my personal car.
But what you get reimbursed for? Well, you could.
Well, yes.
So
Yes.
that would be cheaper for the county than
Oh, yeah.
getting a vehicle. I'm just trying to ask the obvious questions.
Yeah.
So if it came down to you turning in expense versus us buying a vehicle, I can't speak for my fellow commissioners, but I would encourage you to file an expense report.
Yeah, this is one of those things we've been looking at from a big picture standpoint, you know, what's the best way to manage the county's vehicles, you know,
Right.
as a fleet. And there are a lot of vehicles, we've done, John Melvin's leading this study, but there's a lot of vehicles that really don't get used much. So if we had a pool of cars or had a leasing arrangement, you know, it would just be a lot more efficient and cheaper.
And I understand that. We had 2 vehicles actually in the budget this year, which we held off on those until there was a decision made about the fleet.
Mm-hmm.
We understand the direction that you guys are looking at. I just have it in there again, because one way or the other, I need a vehicle, whether it's through the fleet or purchasing one. Anything else?
Or continue to use the county vehicles until we get clarification on this issue. Okay. And I trust that's going to happen fairly quickly based on conversations we've had, but, okay.
And then-
Questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
I got a few more things.
Okay,
There
my
is
apologies.
actually, because we receive information from the federal tax offset, it's confidential information, and there's certain guidelines that we have to match to get that information. And one of the guidelines is we have to have a shredder that pretty much pulps any of the information that we receive when we destroy it. The shredder is over $1,000. We're actually looking at some other options, but I do have that in there in case we need to purchase it. But again, we're looking
You're
at.
shredding stuff that's confidential and
for the-
private. and
Yeah, for
so-
the tax offset.
And you have no shredder currently, or?
We have a shredder, but it doesn't meet their qualifications for shredding. So we could be fined for not shredding it currently. Just a few things for the vision of the future. I was talking about, we did get the House Bill 366 passed this year, so staff will be working with the local bar associations and our county partners and doing some training on the new child support guidelines. I already talked about the misdemeanors and the felonies. We do want to look at doing a seek work program. Other counties have some really good seek work programs. So basically what those are used for is if an obligor is not able to pay their support, to have some resources available for them to try to help them seek work. We have some actually good county partners in Delaware County, so we want to put something together to benefit that. We've been talking to the Goodwill program. They have a job readiness courses and the domestic court. And we're looking at maybe using some of the Goodwill sessions to delete some of their jail time. So if we could find them in contempt for 30 days and they go through the program, they could pretty much purge half their jail time just by going to the job readiness classes. That's on there. So education, we still want to continue doing education. Child support, unfortunately, has a bad connotation. If you say child support to someone, they think, you know, we're the end of the world. but we're not, we're really here to help. So we've been trying to educate, you know, the public, the obligors that we deal with, and just, we've been doing the prison visits, the jail visits, you know, reaching out to them saying, hey, we're really not the bad guys, we just need to communicate with us. So we want to continue that. Continue working with our county partners to do a resource day. Again, going back to trying to purge some of their jail time, having a resource day maybe once a month. Maybe that's probably unrealistic to start off with. We might look at quarterly, but doing monthly resources and having like Job and Family Services, us, the Goodwill Program, Mary Haven, the BMV, just to, again, to all the resources be in one room to kind of a one-stop shop to help our clients. They're looking at doing away with receiving any kind of check payments next year. The processing center that processes our checks. So we might have to look at something of doing either like a kiosk system or a credit card system, just trying to provide them some other way of making their child support payments conveniently.
Why would they do away with checks?
There's a lot of checks that are being bounced. So the Ohio Child Support Payment Central currently right now is responsible for all the return deposits. They're trying to find a vendor to take on that cost and work with the Attorney General's office. But there is talk that they're not going to accept payments or check payments next year.
Seems kind of silly.
Yeah.
If someone paid with counterfeit money, would they do away with paying with money?
Actually, we just had one not too long ago with counterfeit. I kind of already talked about the cross-training and the quality assurance. And then another idea that we're kind of looking at for next year is maybe some type of texting system to remind clients of like hearings and appointments, their payments are due. Just a few things on the horizon for the future. So that's basically all the information
Can I ask a favor? Could you introduce the person with you?
Yep, I'm sorry. This is my assistant director.
Sue Sowers. Hello.
You didn't get introduced, I just wanted to get for the record.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Ben, you have any questions?
I didn't really, go ahead.
Your biggest challenge this past year?
Figuring out to do with what we call them our more difficult cases. So we spend 80% of our time trying to collect on 20% of our cases. We have the opioid situation is definitely affecting some of the payers not paying. I would say that's probably the biggest thing. We've actually reached out to Mary Haven and tried to start a relationship with them and have some references to send people to. And
Thank you.
Commissioner Ben?
Nothing really specific. You answered my questions and your comments, but I just wanted to thank you. You do a great job. Award-winning department.
still number one.
Yeah.
Great. So that's very good, and I appreciate your fiscal sensitivity. You're looking at ways to do things differently and save money or more efficiently, so again, just good job.
And you understood the concerns I expressed on the,
Yeah, and I have no issues with either of those.
something that I think I will do with everyone that comes and sits in front of us. We don't have that many opportunities. Do you have any questions for us that you'd like to get an answer while we're all three here together?
I can think of.
So, you're pleased with everything's going on? There's nothing that's a concern or?
The one thing that I did mean to mention that I forgot to is that the commissioners have always been real supportive of our department, and I think one of the biggest things that leads to our success is that we have manageable size caseloads. Our caseloads are currently around 500, and once you get any larger than that, you're more reactive than proactive. So I appreciate the fact that anytime I've come over to look for hiring another case manager, that you guys have been supportive for that. Because again, I do think that's probably one of the key factors that we're successful.
So I'm going to summarize, you don't need anyone now, but you might need someone in the future. and
It'll be a little while.
Okay.
I don't see anybody for probably a couple years at least, for the case manager position. If we get looking at the seek work and start increasing that, we might look at needing someone more dedicated for that, but that's gonna take some time to build that. We can't build the ladder yet, we gotta just take the first step.
You have anything to add, Sue?
I'm like the silent partner over here. No, I don't. Thank you.
Any last comments?
Just want to thank you, too. I mean, it's got to be tough, getting support from people who are in crisis, but yet that money is so needed, too, for the families, so. And you are award-winning, as Commissioner Benton pointed out, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I kind of gave on the phone to Bob, I kind of talked about 22 or something like that.
Able to be here?
He wasn't in the building, but he thought he'd be here by 22.
Okay, okay.
Well, see if there's anything they want to add
By
before,
20 till 2?
Oh,
rather than waiting till 2.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that. I didn't say anything I was embarrassed by.
Can we stop him? No. We're gonna wait and make sure they have highway.
Is there anything else that you have or any of you want to comment on before, or we'll recess until, and I'm going to recess until 1:40. That way, if he gets here early, we'll be able to start, otherwise we'll have to wait. So we are now in recess until 1:40. A good feel for
How
how
far
you
it's
hit a
going.
ball because you're starting at a big advantage.
Right, right.
You ready? Good afternoon, everyone. The Delaware County Special Session Budget Hearing is back in session from recess. It's 1:41. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lamb, and you can make introductions.
Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director.
And Jenna Gehring, the economic, we're still not used to that.
You aren't used to it?
That's why I let her introduce herself.
You couldn't remember the last name, could you?
I can remember the last name, but I would have come really close to saying Jackson before stopping myself.
Yeah, that's funny.
Proceed.
Commissioners, thank you very much for having us here today. We'd like to discuss with you the proposed economic development budget. As I'm sure that you see, there's a 30% increase in the overall budget. This has been driven by a lot of the great success that the department has had over the last 3 years. I'm very happy to let you know that in partnership with the Finance Authority, over the last 3 years, we've seen $200 million in private investment come into the community and over 1,000 jobs being created. 20% of these jobs in the R&D and medical sector. We have 34 projects currently in the pipeline, as well as over another $300 million in private sector investment if we're able to bring those to fruition. Many of these jobs, being in the R&D and medical, provide opportunities for employment for our residents. As you know, they're very highly educated, high household incomes, high household home values, and so these are the type of jobs that we want to be attracting to our community. If we're able to bring in these new projects, we would see jobs increase to over 2,000, and the 20% number in R&D and medical switch to over 60% in R&D and medical jobs created. We believe that 3 of these projects might very well close before the end of the year. We're excited about them, and we think that they'd be great additions to our community. Further, over the past few years, the department is happy to say we've partnered on Lean and Six Sigma opportunities, as well as digitalizing our review process. We've worked closely with many of the townships on cloud zoning and other endeavors, which also is one of the reasons that we've looked at increasing additional revenue in our professional service area so that we can continue to provide those services, as well as expand assistance in the creation of JEDs, zoning, and other critical matters that help bring new investment to the community. We have also recently entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the Finance Authority, which will help us expand services within that area. They will also be providing up to $30,000 in support, at least $30,000 annually in support within the area of travel, marketing, and business attraction activities to help us bring new jobs and investments to the community. Further, in partnership with the townships and the schools, the investments that we have been working on bringing to the community are positioned to generate over $200 million through TIF revenue that can be used for public improvements such as home, road, and other infrastructure improvements that are critical to the future of the county. I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the budget at this time.
Mr. Lewis, Mr. Benton?
Good.
I guess it's on you.
You can go.
Oh, okay. The US 23 study, we've got $30,000 in there. I know we approved a bigger number this year. Is that the residual of what hasn't been spent, or is that new spending, or?
That would be new spending. We approved $50,000 this year.
And so it's another 30 on top of the 50?
Yes, they're looking at a 2-part study. The request to spend that money would come back to you at a time that they designated us, that they requested of us to go forward with the second part of that study.
Okay.
And I would engage the commissioners to determine if it was something that you wanted to support. It's my understanding the second half would drive deeper, really targeting specific intersections on how they could be laid out for future development. The first phase is really looking at the holistic corridor and trying to determine what areas could be selected for positioning for better chance to attract commercial investment.
Okay.
I think at the time, it was mentioned for implementation phases would come back
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
requests.
yeah, I remember that. I just wasn't sure if this was part of the original 50 or not.
Will there be in-kind support like last time from the other parties?
That would be my recommendation, that we assist only if other parties also provide
At the
support.
same levels they participated last time, or?
Equal percentages to what the cost is. I can't tell you at this time what that second phase cost will be.
One other thing that I saw on your list that's very interesting, I think very important, is the 5G study. You know,
Yes.
that where do you stand on that? What kind of timeline? And
Currently, the documents and agreements, contractual agreements are in with the prosecutor's office. Eric is reviewing them. It is my hope that we be bringing it forward for you to decide if you will authorize before Thanksgiving.
oh, okay. Yeah, because again, I think 5G is really an important component of economic development in the future, so I think it's great. The cellular consultant services, separate contract?
No, it's all part of the
It's all part of
5G
that?
cellular network, yes.
Okay. The JED program implementation, that doesn't ring a bell with me. What are we talking about there?
With the JED program, I think I briefly talked about it earlier in the year. We've been looking at how can we help facilitate townships enter into joint economic development districts that will help provide them revenue as well as better position them, those localities for commercial investment. The JED program would allow us to help pay some of the upfront attorney fees on the creation of those JED areas in exchange for us having a percentage returned to us through the JED, as well as being a key partner of that agreement. Since we provide economic development services to the townships, we're pulled into many of these conversations anyway. By addressing it this way, we're able to secure a revenue stream through the JED to help with economic development efforts at the county level.
The Finance Authority is kicking in $30,000 and maybe more for reimbursement of the things you described. Where are we headed with sharing costs with the Finance Authority?
I believe that this year was a huge movement forward. As you're aware, in 2017, we attempted to enter into a larger IGA concept that would have provided $100,000 in funding. Unfortunately, we were not able to reach terms on that agreement. We have since agreed upon this $30,000 intergovernmental agreement. I think this is a first step in enhancing those services. My hope is that going into 2019, we'll further those conversations, look at increasing shared fees, and as well as we iron out many of the kind of base structural items that we've been tackling over the last 6 months, bylaws and policy handbooks, we'll be able to shift more focus onto that area and see how better we can assist efforts and combine efforts in many ways so that we're not doubling up, that we're doing things efficiently and better streamlining it for greater revenue to shift over at a future date.
Okay. I know we've talked to Morrow County about doing a Finance Authority agreement with them. Is that moving forward?
Myself, John Benehoff, Mayor Benehoff, who's also a board member on the Finance Authority, will be meeting with the Morrow County Commissioners on November 14th at 1 p.m. to continue discussions regarding a partnership contractual agreement that would be entered into between the Delaware County Finance Authority and the Morrow County Board of Commissioners to extend certain Finance Authority services, sales tax waiver, bond financing to projects that occur within their district, as well as some economic development consulting services. That agreement would also be brought to you so that you all were fully aware of what the terms were and conditions. In that, I have told the board that everybody needs to be comfortable, including the county commissioners, with this type of an arrangement, and the board has expressed their desire to make sure that any agreement they entered into would be acceptable to the commissioners as well.
Yeah, again, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, they're not, their scale isn't big enough that they can hire a professional economic development team, so why not leverage our work, and certainly we could benefit from some
They
good
are hiring
projects over
somebody,
there.
weren't they? Morrow County was hiring someone, weren't they? Or?
Morrow County has hired a single individual to run
Right.
economic development. I'm blanking on his last name. He was with ODNR before. We do have a relationship with Morrow, having assisted on the financing for the Dollar Tree facility up there. We believe we're a good fit. They're well positioned for certain projects that just aren't really looking at a Delaware County framework, and so we can be of aid to them in that regard.
Last one on the list that I wasn't up to date on, I guess, is the TIF CRA analysis and tracking system.
Yeah, that's one that as we've been doing more and more TIFs and CRA agreements, I would like to start looking in 2019 on how do we put in place a holistic program that can better forecast what those revenues will be, stay up to point on what's coming in and what isn't, work with the auditor's office in coordination on those activities. And so really having one set master Excel spreadsheet that would lay out those figures and numbers going forward. I can't tell you I have any set plans on when I would bring that request forward to the commissioners, but I wanted to make sure that if we did start feeling that drastic need, as well as working with the county auditor's office and wanting to be a good partner there, that I had requested funds to be able to enter into those types of agreements if determined to be needed in 2019.
Okay, certainly makes sense. Last item I had really was, you know, we've heard on facilities, their details of their plans going forward. Engineer will hear. You know, we're going to work on an overall financial plan and so on. And you guys, and Sewer, I'm sure we'll hear from them, but you guys have done you put together a nice strategic plan last year. I'd like to see a presentation, you know, on how you did against the strategic plan this year, because you've had a lot of successes. It's been a very active year, a very good year. So I'd like to just see, you know, kind of an overall comparison of how you've done against that plan.
So on this note, I'm going to take full responsibility for us not having it ready. It was my intent to have a document prepared and ready on November 5th that would highlight the past year and how it's set up against that plan. Unfortunately, I'm running a little behind on getting comments back to the team on different items regarding that document. You will have it, I'm hoping, before Thanksgiving, and it will highlight a lot of the past successes and show a comparison between the strategic plan, goals of where we would be in a year or two to where we're at today, and possibly even some proposals on how in 2019 and 2020 we may be looking to do even better. So my apologies on not.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. I know you've been a little busy. And again, I think it's been a great year, so I'm just kind of curious to pull out the plan and see how we actually did against it, and look down the road too, because this is the kind of the season when you do that sort of stuff, look into the future. That's all I got.
And my question dealt with Six Sigma, and if you could go into a little bit more detail about what you've been able to do with that, Bob, this last year.
Yeah, we've seen some great success with that over the past few years. We've been also working with, not only with the county, but also in the townships. I'm very happy to report that Orange Township has really embraced that program, has been using it within their planning and development service area, as well as parks and what goes for their road maintenance type operation. And so we're very happy with where that's been. We don't know exactly what 2019 will bring within that framework or if we'll continue it, but we have seen great success. That was really the precursor to moving forward with a lot of the online digital process. And so the Lean Six Sigma helped us kind of lay the groundwork, better understand process flows to help begin the process towards more of an online submittal system.
In deciding where it's used, is there any systematic way in which you look over different departments, and now, you know, you mentioned the townships too. I hadn't even thought of that.
We've been primarily focused in the development arena, planning, zoning, economic development of the county sanitary sewers, used a county engineer. We would like to engage them on that as well, but it has not been used within their area at this time.
What do our costs run on that?
I believe it's about, we were budgeting around 19,000, I think was what was spent. I'd have to go back and pull that exact number.
Okay, that gives me an idea. Yeah, I mean, talk about a way to improve efficiency and effectiveness. It's a great tool, so.
Time is money, definitely, within the development world, and so if we can deliver faster and quicker, efficiently within a set standard framework, that's exactly what the development community is looking for.
Thank you.
What do you think of Project Grand Slam? It's been getting some media now.
I think it's a great project. I think it brings some needed facilities to the community. I'm excited to see it moving forward. I think some of the reporting on it is probably not completely accurate in the size and scope of the project. I think it's going to be much more of a regional focus, not the national that it appears to be being presented as. At least that's my understanding from speaking with both the Evans Farm Development team and the individual looking to do Project Grand Slam. I think, though, it's a great addition to the community. It's my understanding there will be no indoor arena type project. They are looking at an indoor sporting facility, but it would be more in line with the training type facilities that you see in Dublin and Hilliard than as an indoor actual arena.
This is the project at Evans?
Correct.
The one observation that came up in a conversation I had the other day with someone, they're talking about they want to get it done next year.
It's my understanding that they do want to start construction. I don't know if it would be complete next year because I believe the fields need at least 1 year.
Well, the challenge that me and this individual talked about was if they're going to be doing construction work on North Road, it does not seem to be an ideal time to open it because if we have to spend extra money to try to work around something like that. So that's something you ought to look into because I was told the entrance to it would be off North Road. I can't tell you if that's true. That's what I was told.
I've made a note of that, and I will talk with the county engineer, and as we go forward, we'll make sure we coordinate that aspect.
I just made that observation to the individual. It seemed to be bad timing because if it added substantial cost to work around it, it didn't seem to be a logical time. And you're now saying a year to let the fields kind of breathe?
I'm not an expert in this area. I've been told by many people that to get fields to be perfect condition, it normally takes a year worth.
My point was, if that's true, that's kind of solves the problem.
Okay.
Because if the work's done next year, and theoretically, then they wouldn't be available till the following year. So, just an observation. The 3637 commercial area up there, there were some conversations, and there's been kind of this quiet time.
So I would say there's been two main conversations going on. One is currently on the back burner, and that would be looking at a cloud overlay sitting over all of 36, 37, 71 type area. Berkshire's done a great job with theirs, putting in place to position themselves for success. We would like to continue that further westward down 36, 37. As I said, that conversation's moving a little slower than I would like. I don't believe that it's dead by any means. The other conversation that the department is having is with private landowners in the area about how to position their land better for development, very similar to the Creekside development along 23. I'm very happy to report that one property has closed in the Creekside area, and actually the assignment assumption agreement will be in front of the commissioners tomorrow. I think we'll have the same success along 3637 if we can structure those agreements. I, in fact, owe one property owner an overview document on Friday to continue that conversation on how to position about 250, 300 acres for a commercial rezoning that would be very similar in nature to Creekside.
Now, just more or less an observation, you can say yay or nay. The cellular consulting services, I believe that's also going to identify the revenue potential to the county,
Yes,
and we believe that to be fairly significant.
yes.
Between Commissioner Ben's comments and Commissioner Lewis, I don't have nothing else. I'm going to ask the same question. I'm going to probably ask everybody. Do you have any questions for us? Great opportunity to...
Is there anything that we're doing that you would like to know more about, or is there something that we're not doing that you would like us to be pursuing?
I'll make it seems like it's been very, very slow, no one's fault. Trying to get a template for these townships to work from so a developer comes in, they're all kind of the same, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It seems like it doesn't move as fast as anyone would like, and I'm just curious, if not now, maybe later you could kind of update us on where we stand on that.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree. It's not moving as quickly as everyone would like. I do think the online submittal process is kind of a first step and could help us re-kickstart that endeavor, but I agree. It's something that we need to do to better service our community.
Are we trying to do too many townships at one time? If you get 2 or maybe 3 to kind of agree, then maybe the others kind of fall in line or fall in place, or say, I need to be part of that too. And I don't know how you're progressing, maybe maybe that's what you're doing, but,
No, I think that's a great idea. I can't say we're specifically handling it that way, but I think that is a way that could lead to success for us.
And, I know that the Mason from the sewer department is heading up the track it review system implementation, which is due to happen in June of 2019. And I know that Genoa Township and Orange Township are very involved in that process as well, and trying to get their process to kind of line up with the counties.
you're supposed to say you're welcome. So, any other questions? Jen, do you have anything to add, or anything you want to say?
Not at the moment, thank you.
Mr. Schmidt?
Nothing else.
Mr. Lewis?
Good year.
Thank you very much, appreciate it, and appreciate all this being done. And
Thank you.
is there anything else that we need to talk about today? We are in recess until 10:30 on November 13th, next Tuesday. Thank you.